Yes.
Councilmember Peschel.
Here.
Mr. Caprillion.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Golden.
Here.
Mr. Frederick.
Here.
Do not have Mary Baszler tonight, but she has agreed to be on the committee. She's been approved by the council, and we expect to see her at the July Plan Commission meeting.
Thank you, Secretary Barg. Number 3, approval of minutes, May 17, 2022 meeting.
People present.
Okay. But we will, I don't have those in front of me, but we will correct that. We'll make that correction. Thank you, and sorry.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the minute with the correction.
So moved by Alderman Peschel, second by Mr. Caprillion. Any other comments? Seeing none? Vote, please.
I meant just to votes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just say all in favor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Number 4, identify potential conflicts of interest. Please be advised per City Policy 3.340 that any member of this body shall declare a conflict if they have an interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engage in a business or transaction or professional activity, or incur an obligation of any nature that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the body's official duties. No conflict seen? We'll go on to number 5, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? Are there any citizens' comments? Any citizens' comments? Seeing none, we'll go on to number 6. Conditional use request by Kathy Reiner to subdivide a property within the RH-35 Rural Holding Zoning District at a density of greater than 1 unit per 35 acres for property located at 201120 State Highway 97. Parcel 250-260-331-0974, consisting of 2.061 acres. Presented, Steve Weiling, City Planner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this item is a conditional use permit request, and it is for a subdivision of the existing Macau property. They would like to sell this single-family parcel that's existed as a single-family use for a long time. So we'll get into that here. So you can see up on the screen there, the aerial just showing the overall property. And we're going to be focusing on a small portion towards the southwest part of the parcel there. So they want to subdivide a small 2.061 acre parcel off to accommodate that existing single-family use. This is the zoning map here, the existing zoning. So the subject parcel, this large Macau property, is currently rural holding zoning district. And so that's intended as a holding zone, hence the name, for properties that come into the city pending eventual development or redevelopment. So we usually attach the RH designation to these properties. And then as we look at redevelopment, then we potentially rezone these. Future land use map, you can see the comprehensive plan recommendation for the subject property. Our area of focus is actually recommended for general commercial. So what the applicant wants to do, the single-family home on the property that we're looking at has existed since the early 60s, I believe. So it's been there for a while. And it is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. But as staff, we wanted to accommodate the existing use. I know that there is a demand for single-family housing in the city. And so with the applicant, their intent with the CSM that they're proposing is that they could maintain the overall larger portion of the Macau property for potential development and subdivide this off and sell this, but allow it to stay single-family use. And so we know that long-term it is not consistent with the comprehensive plan to recommend, for example, a single-family zoning classification. But we thought rather than be difficult to work with, we wanted to accommodate this use and allow it to remain. but maintain the RH designation. If we were to recommend rezoning to a single family, that would not be consistent with the comprehensive plan. That'd actually be taking us further away from the comprehensive plan recommendation. The way I look at this one, it's kind of non-conforming in a way. I kind of compare it to a non-conforming situation where you allow it to remain, you just don't want to go further into the non-conforming end of the spectrum. So as staff, we looked at this, we talked to the state DOT, and they are okay with maintaining it as a single family use. They would look at, access onto the state highway there, onto Highway 97. And so we asked them if they had any concerns, and they said that no, they would be okay with this as long as it stays a single family use. And so with that, we recommend approval of this request for this conditional use to exist at a higher density than what the RH 35 district would permit, as long as the zoning stays RH 35 and it stays as a single family use.
Okay, well, thank you, Stephen. Now do we have?
Yeah, that's public comment.
Okay, public comment? Seeing no public comment? Anybody motion? Chris, second? Kim, any other discussion? No discussion seen? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7, master sign plan request by the Marshfield Clinic located at 1000 North Oak Avenue, parcels 33-03228, 33-03231B, 33-03233, 33-03-62, 33-03088, and 33-02115 to update the master sign plan for the campus. Yes, Mr. Pakalis.
We would like to,
Oh, do you want to step up to the
I think we need you at
podium?
the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Just
can
wait
hear-
for the
yeah.
sound system.
Yep.
Otherwise, they won't be able to hear you at home or, well, yeah, it's not about us, it's about on TV and the
Yep.
recording. I'm sorry. Is it on?
Wait,
Oh, no, it's not
Is
on
it?
yet.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Basically, this is a plan of action for an exterior sign program. Since we bought the St. Joseph's Hospital, we are reincorporating some of their signage, updating some of their old stuff, shuffling a lot of our signs around so they all make a little more sense. We actually eliminated some signs, pushed some bigger ones up to the top of the hill to identify the campus. And we're also trying to incorporate the new emergency urgent care location on the first floor of the hospital. We're moving it from the second floor to the first floor. We need to re-identify the emergency entrance for that hospital. So with all this happening, we need an overall sign plan, which was given to you through Corbin Design that we have out of Traverse, Michigan, and I'm sure that they would be happy to answer any questions you would have if I'm not able.
Any questions?
and I do have a presentation here, just like
Okay.
I would for most, so I can go through that. And
Great,
then,
thank you, Stephen, that'd be great.
If
Yes.
Corbin or the applicant, or if there's any questions. So yeah, as was mentioned, I have up on the screen here, this is a master sign plan request. We don't see too many of these. This is my first one, but I know that Josh and Emmett dealt with these before I was here. So our code does allow for master sign plans, our sign ordinance does. Especially, they're applicable and appropriate for these larger scale campus developments, as is the case with the clinic. So you can see here their proposed signage map that was included in your staff report and in your packets. And it kind of shows where these signs would be located and where they are, some of them are located currently. And the applicable ordinance sections, I don't need to go into this word for word, but in our sign ordinance, we do have a number of sections that dictate where or when a master sign plan is applicable. And I pulled all of these because I believe that all of them would be appropriate. I'll just highlight a few here. 2 or more signs are installed that do not meet all of the individual sign standards. I do believe that some of their proposed signs would be larger than what would be permitted under the base sign ordinance regulations. So we have the flexibility of a master sign plan. 2 or more signs are proposed for a campus district. That's clearly the case here. Signs in a campus district or group or large development, in this case, a campus district that exceed 50 square feet in area. That's the case here. So just wanting to highlight some of the more important code sections that are applicable for anybody here or watching. So staff has been talking with the applicants back and forth for a number of months. And in the earlier staff discussions, it was decided that it might be best to subdivide the campus into sections to make it a little bit more manageable and to make it more comprehensible. So it might be a little bit hard to see, but the applicant did subdivide these. It's just a little hard on the screen there, but the applicant did subdivide this into sections A through D. Sections A and C, I believe, comprise most of the western portion of campus. And then B and D would be the central and eastern portion. Existing and proposed signage. So they would be meeting the standards as far as what overall area would be permitted for the street frontage in each of these sections, from what I could tell when we ran the calculations. Code usually allows 2 square feet of signage or sign area for every linear foot of street frontage. And in this case, even though they are adding signage, they would still be meeting that overall code maximum. Just some highlights, and I'll apologize in advance. I don't like reading off of slides typically, but because there's a lot going on here, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, so I did include a lot of this in the slides. 46 existing signs are included in the plan. This is not nearly as many as would have been included in 2013 with the original master sign plan for the Marshfield campus. But our regulations, I believe, have changed. And signs of under 6 square feet, like on-site directional signage, would not be subject to the sign standards as far as needing permits and such. So those have been omitted. So small informational and directional signage were not included in this plan. There are 2,715 square feet of gross sign area proposed currently with this plan. They're looking to replace 7 existing signs with new signs in the same locations. They would retrofit 19 signs. Retrofit means that they would be doing face replacements, so they're going to keep the structure. They're not looking to expand the structure dimensionally. They're looking to just switch out copy in those cases. Removal of 21 signs, and then 20 signs to remain as they are. And they wanted to have a provision for future signage in there, in the plan, to accommodate potential future signage that's consistent with their branding. So that would be up to 6,000 square feet of total campus signage for the Marshfield Clinic campus. The sign installation would be allowed to occur for 5 years, more or less, until April 30th of 2027 is what the applicant requested. Staff would recommend a condition that the Marshfield Clinic Health System would submit annual reports indicating installed signage each year, just so that we know what's been installed and we can keep track of where they are in terms of heading towards that 6,000 square foot total. And that's pretty consistent with what we've required in the past, I think. The 2013 plan, I think, had a similar condition. The sign permit fee, we looked at this, and the fee is based on the number of signs in the square footage proposed. So typically there's a $150 base fee for the master sign plan itself, due at the time of application, and then an additional $50 per sign, additional $50 fee per sign. So that would equate to $2,450. And then because we don't know exactly how much square footage they're going to be adding in the future, we decided to base this off of what we did in 2013, where we took the future square footage, took that times this cost per square foot that we determined, And we came up with a figure to add, and then with those two, so the fee based on the proposed signage as is included in the plan, and then the fee of the square footage for future signage, both of those together would equal a total fee of $4,486. This cost per square foot, the 75-cent cost per square foot, is less than what it would have been in 2013. But the applicants have done quite a bit of the work in terms of putting together this package and making it easier for staff. And so we think that this is fair. We think that allowing them to do this, in bulk and giving them a little bit of a value there is beneficial and cost savings there. And I think that it'll work pretty well. Our standards have changed in terms of how we calculate the fee too. I believe the 100 square foot threshold was in place before in 2013. So if a sign was under 100 square feet, there was a certain value. And then if it was over, there was an additional charge, if I remember correctly. That has since, to my knowledge, gone away. And our fee schedule just has a flat rate of $50 per sign typically. So just comparing the sign area for each section, again, sections A and C are the western part of campus. Those would see the biggest increases in terms of proposed signage. Section B would actually decrease in area. Section D would stay the same. Most area increases proposed would occur at the entrances to campus, where larger, more prominent signs are needed. Really to help people that are looking, they're coming into campus perhaps for the first time, and they need effective wayfinding. And then according to the sign consultant, the wayfinding consultant, they did explain that there is a hierarchy of sign sizes that go as you go through campus. So these bigger signs as you enter, and then as you go through, they decrease in size. But they are all designed to be easy to understand and to be effective wayfinding and to look cohesive and consistent with the branding. So there are a few exceptions to the sign standards that would be a part of this plan. The applicants have requested exceptions consistent with the 2013 master sign plan. So exceptions for height, size, and setback. There would be a 5-foot setback between signs in the right-of-way, which was the same as the 2013 plan. And then there is the potential for hardship exceptions to the 5-foot setback, just on a situational case-by-case basis, and these would be reviewed by staff as needed. So typically we don't allow signage in the vision triangle, for example, at intersections or driveway entrances. In this case, or in limited cases, we may be able to. We would have the city engineer, Tom Turchi, review those, and I would also look at them. And then as long as we have no concerns, we would be able to potentially accommodate signage where there are unique lot configurations or limited dimensional area there. So just wanted to show you some of the proposed signs. So you can see the larger signage on the left up on the screen there. You might see that as you enter campus, some of the larger signs on this first slide here. Again, pretty standard throughout in terms of their branding, their logos, the fonts that are used. Decreases in area as you go into campus, and as you look at some of the entrances to parking lots and structures or signage within parking areas. Again, some of these signs, for specific areas. Just again, showing you, and these were all included in that package that was part of the Plan Commission packet. These here, again, on the left and in the center are freestanding signs. A lot of them are freestanding signs, but then they also do have some on-building wall signage, cabinet signs, for example, on the right with the logo there that they would be replacing or putting up. Again, these here are on-building signs for specific locations. Urgent care and emergency signage. So with that project, they want to update the signage there, which makes sense. So just in summary here, just to recap everything, there would be 6,000 square feet of total area in terms of signage permitted under this plan. We would allow or recommend allowing exceptions to individual sign standards for height, size, and setback. We do have the flexibility to do that in the master sign plans. A sign setback of 5 feet in general, as a general rule for signs, with a hardship exception possible based on staff review. Installation of signs would be allowed for 5 years, not quite, but, if we wanted, we could amend that date. Technically, if we wanted it to be 5 years from the council meeting but they asked, until April 30th, so I just put that for now. But that, you could amend that if you wanted to. Or until the total square footage is accounted for, whichever comes first. That's how long the installation would be permitted. There'd be a total fee, again, of $4,486 for the master sign permit and the signage permitted under this plan. That fee would be due before signs are installed, and then they would be covered under this plan. So with that, we recommend approval of the master sign plan request by the Marshfield Medical Center to allow for the additional and relocation of 27 signs. So again, 7 signs would be new signs replacing existing. There'd be 20 new signs. I think I might have forgotten to mention that before, but 20 new signs. Retrofit of 19 signs. And for exceptions to the sign height, area, and placement requirements with the following conditions and exceptions. And I don't necessarily need to read all of these, but these are all the ones that are included in your staff reports. There was a resolution that was included in your packets that would be going to council. So, that has these same conditions in there. I think I tweaked the wording just a little bit, but it's all the same in terms of what the actual substance is. And so with that, that's our recommendation on this one. And if you have any questions, I guess, the applicants are here, or staff can help too.
What do you mean by hardship exemption?
Sure. So hardships, for example, they do have some parking areas that exist already. And there's like maybe 10 feet between the parking pavement there and the right-of-way. Some of these signs are larger, again, because you're entering campus. So their placement, where they want to put them, it may not permit it, to have a 5-foot setback and then have their, the size sign that they want. So there's arguably hardship there because that parking exists as it is. And so we want to work with them in some of those cases. So if there's some site-specific hardships, most cases will not have that issue, but I think there is one in particular that is the case.
Okay.
Yep.
And you did mention, obviously, that these signs so far that you've seen are all within ordinance, correct?
They, in terms of the area, I think some of the largest signs are over the maximum square footage permitted for freestanding signs. Mm-hmm. So that's where this plan has the flexibility to allow those. But most of the other signs would meet code. Now, in terms of the overall sign area for each street frontage, that would fall within the code.
And once the plan is where all these signages are going to be, it would be reviewed by Tom Turchi also, correct?
If there's
you would have hearsay on if
yes,
that can work there or not.
Yep. If there's anything that we have any doubts about with the vision triangles in particular, I would for sure refer that to him because I'd want him to review it and he could offer an opinion and make a decision on that.
Obviously, signage is very important. Obviously, when it's such a big area, it's a large square foot area. The signs are nice looking there, so.
For sure. But yes, we've talked to the applicants. I've reviewed this too. And I don't believe we're going to have too many issues with vision triangles. I would imagine that would probably be the biggest concern just because that's a safety thing. Mm-hmm. So anytime we're proposing any signage or other structures in the vicinity of the right-of-way or intersections, that's one thing that we look at.
Questions about the emergency room change and how signage will work with that. Will there need to be any interim signs as that transition is happening? And can I assume that some of the earliest signs in this new plan will be related to that emergency room change?
That is the signs in that plan for the emergency building. You've seen about 4 or 5 signs that actually be put right on the building or on the ramp. You know that there's a ramp there. We want people to park in underneath there for the emergency entrance. For the ambulance alone has to go down through that area, so we need to identify that. The bigger signs also had the big red emergency with the directionals on them. Like they mentioned before, we start out with big at the edge of the street. And as we get into the location, the sign keeps getting smaller with more detailed information.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
A motion to accept? Motion by, and second by Chris. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Staff updates, number 8.
So Steve, I think the only update I can think of is we're still trying to get new people on board in our department. And then at some point you will see new faces in addition to me. So hopefully at some point here, we'll get some people in the next few months.
Yeah, let me just add to that, Stephen. Yeah, we, our second round of posting for the Development Services Director did not produce any candidates at all. So I'm right now talking to a firm that specializes in executive recruitment, trying to get something set up with them to help us recruit. Those folks oftentimes know people who are looking, even if they're not actively responding to ads and those types of things. So hopefully, as we get into a little bit deeper into the summer, we'll get some candidates and get somebody into that position. That's a critical position. Along with that, Emmett's been gone now for a month, and we did a posting for that one. We got a few applicants, but none of them looked all that promising in terms of having the skills. I've kind of wondered what's been going on here for a while with some of our recruitments, and yet I've been told by HR people and other organizations that this is a really hard time to find employees in general, no matter what part of the org chart you're looking at. So what we're doing right now is what we're experiencing is not uncommon. So we're trying to work through it as best we can. I can't give enough kudos to the person sitting on my right now. Or seriously, the job Stephen is doing is just magnificent. We're very fortunate to have him on board. He's doing a wonderful job as a city planner, but we do need to get help, and we are pursuing it actively. So hopefully, as we get a little deeper into the summer, we'll see those positions get filled.
Thanks, Steve.
On the first round of interviews with the development services, did we make any offers, or the candidates weren't?
Yeah, we interviewed 4 people, John, and we did offer the job to somebody from out of state, and somebody very promising, somebody that the team felt very good about. I think that Nick was part of that team, and I was as well. She ultimately turned us down because of personal family reasons. It wasn't anything against what she saw here from the city or anything like that. And we just felt the other 3, while they're good candidates, they have skills and abilities, weren't quite right. They didn't have the full range of economic development plus planning and zoning background. And we did talk a lot about the fact you just don't want to get a warm body in.
Yeah, you're right.
As painful as this is to wait, we want to find the right person.
Yeah, you're right, for sure.
I might add one more thing. Maybe, Stephen, you want to give a brief update, and not to put you on the spot, but the things are continuing to progress in terms of the 2nd Street corridor redevelopment plan?
Yeah, so that is correct. We did a walking tour with the Community Development Authority last week. I think it was Monday. So I was out there with Mary, who's the executive director, and some of the authority members. We walked the district and we were able to look at the properties. They had wanted the opportunity, which is reasonable. So we did. We went through there, kind of discussed, ownership and conditions and such. So they're more familiar. And then the goal is to have them take action at their Thursday meeting this week. So on the 23rd, their meeting is at 9 a.m. typically. And I think they are holding it via Zoom. So it is going to be a virtual meeting. But they would take action, hopefully, on the plan and the resolution Thursday this week. And if that's the case, if they approve it, then we would put it on the council agenda for the 28th. So the upcoming council meeting next week, Tuesday. And from there, if the council approves it, then it goes back to the CDA just for final ratification. And then we can work, we've started to have some discussions on potential implementation of the plan. We know it's going to be a long process, but it doesn't hurt to have those discussions early.
And adding to what Stephen said, that included talking with Ehlers, our financial advisor, about creating a tax increment financing district to help fund the improvements, and also a conversation that Stephen and I had by Zoom with Jackie and Scott from Vanderwall about possibly looking at getting a proposal from them to contract for the implementation phase. They did a good job on the planning phase. Would they be willing to help us in terms of trying to get this off the ground and move some of the steps forward so we could see some, things coming to fruition from the great plan that's been put together. So yeah, that'd be our update on that one.
And number 9, items for future agendas. Any ideas?
I do know I did get an official submission for a conditional use exception. It's a residential one for additional storage area, so accessory structure area. So that will probably be a pretty straightforward one, but that was filed. It just didn't make the deadline for this meeting, just due to public hearing notice requirements and all that stuff. So that'll be on for next month. And then there might be another potential one, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything filed for a potential rezone for another property. So those are 2 that I'm aware of, one for sure.
Nothing else? We will go to number 10 and adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, everybody.